Hello, I'm Rick Stivers, and I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. And today we're going to be working on this JC Higgins. It's a model 357.39890. It's in a little bit rough shape. It's a Spincast reel. We're going to give this thing a try. I believe, well, I don't really know anything about it, so we're going to try it out and see what we can find out about it. This is my first operational check of my checklist, so we're going to see how things go. Could I find a schematic for it? No, I could not. So we'll mark that off as a no. Is the reel complete? Near as I can tell, it looks complete. It looks like it could possibly have a plastic knob that's supposed to go on top up here, but I'm not sure about that. We'll find out a little bit more as we get into it. So it appears to be complete. Is there anything visibly broken on the reel? Not that I can tell. Everything seems to work, although this switch that's supposed to go left hand, right hand seems to be jammed at the moment. We'll see if we can get that freed up, but there's no broken parts on the reel. All right. Does the reel turn smoothly? No, it does not. It's a very, very tight turning reel, but it does turn. So we'll see where we can get it to go from there. Does the spool release operate? No. Does the bail operate? Okay, this is an NA for the bail. Okay, does the drag work? Well, that's a good question. I believe that that's a drag up there, but there's no. Wow, it looks like it was submerged in mud. This will be interesting to see if I can get this one up and going again. We'll have to see if it has a drag or not. That one we cannot tell. So that's a question mark. Question mark and question mark because it has no line. There is no bait clicker. Does the handle of the knob? Yes. Hey, we got one part on this that works great. Does the anti-reverse work? If it has anti-reverse, it's not working at this time. Okay. And I have not turned off anti-reverse because there's not a switch for it. All right, so that's our basic status of this reel, and this is where we're going to start off. So we're going to start off by taking the knob off of the end, or this round nut, and we may have faced our first problem right there. There we go. All right, we've got the nut off. Take this spinner off, and wow, it is really dirty inside, but let's see if it seems to function. It functions, but it's a little slow, and as you can see, yes, it does function, but it does seem to function a little slow. We'll clean that up and get that working much better, I believe. Okay, this side out for right hand bait casting and left hand spinning. Okay, I'm assuming that they use the same spool in both. Wow, that is not moving at all. So since it's not moving and we don't want to break anything, let's move to the back. Go ahead and take the back of the reel apart and see where we can go from there. Let's start off by taking the handle off. Alright, that's got the nut off for the handle. The handle's off. Okay, we've got two screws on this side that we can take out. We've got one screw over here on the right hand, left hand, but we're going to leave that alone for now. Let's go ahead, take these two screws out and see what we have inside. I chose this reel because I'm tired tonight and was thinking that I was going to get an easy one done and get it knocked out real quick, but that may not end up being the case. Okay, that's got the screws out, so I'm thinking that these pins, this side plate on the other side will push out now, and it does. Comes straight out, very much like a Johnson Century and Citation. similar anyway. The main gear now comes out. Okay, the spring is a little bit sprung there, although this one over here is in really good shape. This one over here doesn't seem to be the same one. So, let's see. That's still not moving. Let's go ahead and spray it down, put some WD-40 on it, and come back to it a little later, and maybe it will move around okay. So we'll set that off to the side. We'll take the button out. There we go. Crusty, but functional. There's no breakage anywhere on it. All right, this is very, very much like a Century and Citation. All right, so that being the case, having said that, I'm going to try to unscrew this, see if it unscrews, and it does not. What if I push down on it? It still does not push. Okay. I have a feeling there's supposed to be a knob up here. It's missing. But we have a screw head. Let's turn the screw and see what we can get to go. Let's clean the dirt out of the screw head. And let's see if we can get it to unscrew. There we go. Well, the screw is turning, it's just undoing the button. But since it's so caked up, let's go ahead and take it off anyway. See if we can clean that up. Yeah, there's supposed to be a plastic knob that turns this, I believe. And it's not there. So, let's go ahead. There we go, that's turning. Now, if we loosen that up, let's go ahead and take it all the way out. And set it over here to the side with that. Yeah, this little bit of plastic right here, these little bits and pieces of plastic, I believe that's supposed to be our drag adjustment nut. So what we may have to do is go ahead and preset the drag on this and leave it at that point and see what can be done. Now let's see, with that loosened up all the way, if this will now come off. Okay, we can take the center button out. That's our center axle shaft. And again, this looks like it's going to be one of those that you're going to have to take the spring clip off of at the end in order to get it out. And that is the case. Okay, let's see if we can pop that spring clip off then. There it comes. Okay, so there's our spring clip here. Can you see it? Yeah. There's the spring clip. There's the spring. Now with that off, we can slide back inside and pull this through. There we go. Get hold of it, pull it out. There. That gives us that. And so far, we've still not been able to do anything with the drag. And this gear is in pretty bad shape, I think. It might just be a bunch of dirt and grease ground up in it. We'll give that a look-see a little better. Let's take a look at this one, the main gear. Okay, so far that's not so bad. These crumbled pieces that used to be the drag knob. We'll see what we can do with that. And so far I have no ability to move this whatsoever. So we're going to try pushing this pin through. Alright, I got that pin part of the way out. Let's see if I can grab hold of it now and pull it the rest of the way out. Alright, that's got that pin out there, the lever out. That lever out, the drag should operate, and it is completely caked up inside. That's a lot of sand in there. It's got me wondering if somebody dug this thing out of a beach somewhere. Okay, still no motion. Let's spray it down with some WD-40. We're going to try the old rag method now. No motion whatsoever. Okay. When things get sticky, sometimes you have to apply a little heat. So, we're going to apply some heat. Still no motion. I think I felt just a bit of motion, but it's getting pretty hot. Pretty hot to hold on to. I'm being less than delicate with this because I really kind of think it's already beyond hope. But I really do kind of want to get this last part off. Okay, I'm going to do what my good friend Dennis over at Second Chance Tackle says to do when things aren't working well, aren't coming. I can't call Dennis my good friend. I've never met Dennis, but I sure do like Dennis a lot. He has really helped me, and I'm going to apply some lubricant to this, and we are going to let it sit for a while and see if it doesn't maybe free up a little bit with some time. I'm gonna exert something I'm having a little bit of trouble with, and that's patience. So let's give this some time to settle, see if this WD-40 will work its way in, and I'm going to come back in about a half hour and see if maybe that spool has worked its way loose. Alright, I'm back. I didn't wait the prescribed half hour that I told you I was going to. I decided to see if I could get a strap wrench on this thing. See if I can get it to break loose. If I break something, Dennis will say, I told you, be patient. And I know, but I'm not very patient, so. And it is not budging. Oh, I moved it. Whoo! There we go. Got it off. Now, is there any hope for it? Well, that still remains to be seen. That's everything freed up except for right here. Wow, somebody beat the... That's why this lever isn't moving. Somebody... I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's come in a little closer. Somebody has taken something and hammered on the back of this reel right here. So in order for that lever to go over, we've got to get that down. Well, the answer for that is going to be to take the screw out of this, which is going to pull all this apart, which I'm not real thrilled about. But I'm going to need to do it in order to file that back down smooth again. So let's start off there. Let's take a really good close look at this though, in case I can't get it back apart later, or can't go to put it back together. All right, see how it goes. Hooks, hooks, hooks. This got levers back and forth, like so. But we do have a sprung spring. I'm hoping it's still going to function properly. Let's start off by taking the screw out. There goes the screw. That off, we take the lever off. Once we've got the lever off, we can push. Let's leave that alone. Let's leave that in. And let's just file it with the file in place. So let's clean the grease and oil off of here. Alright, off is in the middle. Left hand is over there and right hand is over here. So the anti-reverse is actually jammed. Hang on, let me put this where you can see it. Okay. The anti-reverse has a right hand, a left hand, and an off. Alright, and the off position is what it was jammed in. So I'm going to kind of prop this, hopefully so you can see it. Let's move things around a little bit until you can. There we go. Alright, and I'm just going to take this file and I'm going to blend over that hammered edge so that the lever will be able to operate again. I wonder if it was done on purpose in an attempt to keep the lever from moving. Whatever the reason, I've taken it off. Now we're going to put that lever back on, put the screw back in. Alright, so what we had here was a bush repair. Somebody had hammered this thing into position hoping to cause the anti-reverse to work in the right hand position. And it's not. Okay, now we got the right hand working. Let's flip it to left hand, which is very tight. Okay, and left hand now it would be over here like this. Okay, it's working. It needs a little, it needs the help of the position in order to make it work properly. Alright, but it does function. Alright, we need to clean up the main gear. Main gear looks to be fine. There's nothing wrong with the teeth. They're uniform, they're clean. Let me wipe it off good. Make sure nothing's hiding that I'm not seeing because of the oil. Alright. The main gear looks good. Let me also, while I'm here on this one, clean this out. Alright. So, we can take the main gear, grease it along the back side where it's got a spin in the handle or in the side plate. Put a little bit of grease there. Make sure that we get grease in the teeth of the main gear. There may be a possibility we might get this reel up and running after all, although I had my doubts a while ago. All right, before we put this together, let's go ahead and put some oil on it. I'm afraid that grease may drag it down too much, although I really think it kind of needs some grease. Long term, I think it would help. And I think maybe part of the problem with this lever is that I've tightened it just a hair too much. There. Does it turn better now? Yes. Still tight, but not like it was. All right, let's drop the main gear in. All right, and put it into, we're normally going to use these type of reels in the right hand position. So we'll slip it to right hand. There we go. That part is complete and ready to be put back into the reel. All right, what parts do we have next? Let's take this body and see if we can scrub it and clean it and get all the sand and grit out of it. If you're able to see properly just how much dirt is inside this. So I'm going to use a white paper towel. I normally don't use white paper towels. I did in my early videos, and I found that the camera seemed to have trouble getting my white balance. Usually I get a lot of black stuff in there in my reels, and it's grease, and I'm okay with that, but this is a grit. It really is like sand, and we're gonna give this one, we scrubbed it all, everything is loose on it. What we're gonna do at this point is go ahead and give it an alcohol bath. In order to help rinse all that grit off. And it really does help to get all that sand off, to give it an alcohol bath. I've done it several times now with reels, and you get everything broke loose with the WD-40, and then you come back and give it an alcohol bath, and all those particles of sand fall down into the alcohol, and that leaves you with a pretty clean reel again. Okay, and I'm thinking I might need to buff that a little bit with a piece of Scotch-Brite, because that's where our drag is going to ride, our spool. Remember how much trouble we had getting the spool off? Well, here it is, and this is what it still looks like, so we need to kind of scrub that up and see what we can do with it. Okay, apparently this same spool was used on some spinning reels as well as the bait caster, or the, yeah, because it says on the spool, this side out for right hand bait casting and left hand spinning reel, or spinning, and then it goes the other way for the other. So we're going to go with the side for the right hand bait cast. Thought I still had some spool left on here, but I don't. All right. So let's see if he fits on there easily, or if we're going to have to buff. That's really not bad. If we add a little bit of grease to that center, I think we're going to find that we've got a pretty smooth operating spool again, considering what we had to do to get it off. Not bad. All right. Now we've got to clean this piece up to put it back inside there. Okay, he goes in here like so. It's going to fit right underneath these two posts right here. Can you see them? All right, these two posts are grooves cut in them, and this piece is going to fit into that. All right, so that's going to go there. And let's go ahead and clean this piece up with its pin and see if we can get it put back in. This is the way I believe it came out. See this notch right here? Okay, this notch has to sit on that shoulder inside there. So let's sit it in place. Get it in there. Line up the hole. Once we've done that, we should be able to put the pin back in. You know what? I think it's going to make this a little easier. Let's try putting on a small dab of grease to help hold this pin in place. A little bit on each side. That way, when we slide it in, like so, hopefully that will help hold it in place. All right, now let's try sliding the pin back in. All right, there we go. I was trying to come in from the wrong side. So it looks like this pin needs to come in from the right-hand side, the handle side. And once you've got it in, hopefully you can just tap it right back into place. And remember that sand I was talking about? Well, it has gotten all over everything. So let's see if we can't get it off of everything. It's on my tools. We're going to change out this paper towel in just a second. Let's go ahead and get this pin tapped in. Okay, I have this rail here on this pan that I use, and that gives me something to brace the back of this onto. Okay, just tap the pin in. Once you got it in, all right, there you go, it levers. Okay, now that it's in the leverage position, you should be able to slip this loop back in and get it under that. This shouldn't be that difficult. You should be able to just hold up on the pin, on the lever, slip this in above it, and snap it in. That is, if I understand it properly. There we go. Now it's slipped in. Now as this tightens, this screw right here, when it screws down, should tighten in that and pull that up, tightening the drag. All right, there, can you see how it's assembled? Let me get it close. All right, here we have the spring loop and we have the lever here. We've got the pin going through the lever, and this is the screw that locks it all down and adjusts it. This is supposed to have a plastic cap on top of it, but the plastic cap is missing. You know, or shattered. There's the pieces of it down there. All right, that's in place. So let's go ahead and put our spool back in with the right hand bait casting up, like so. Okay, that snapped into place. Let's see what it did under there when I snapped it into place. Well, okay. Well, not only did it snap into place, but it's holding it in place. Oh, look here. All right. If you look right under this edge right here, there is a groove right there. Now it's starting to make sense. See that groove? That's what that spring, that U-shaped spring under there, fit into. Now what happens when you adjust this nut down, or bolt screw down, what happens when you adjust the screw down, it pushes down on that lever, which pulls up on that U-bolt, and that U is sitting on each side of this clamp right here, and it's squeezing it, and that is your drag. So that's what it's there for. That's how it works. All right, and that's what you heard snap when I snapped that down, was that spring fitting into that. Very nice. All right. It's amazing all of the different ways that they have figured out to create the same exact things in different reels without infringing on each other's patent rights. All right. Let's clean up the axle shaft. That's good. Good looking axle shaft. Let's see what the story is with this gear. This is going to be the deciding factor, is whether or not this reel is going to function properly. Is what this gear is like. If this gear is shot, then this little reel is always going to rumble anytime somebody tries to fish with it. But if the gear is in good shape, which I'm hoping it is, we just need to get all the crud out of it, then we should be okay. We should be able to get this thing up and going. All right, I'm going to take this pick and scrape, because there is crud down inside each tooth of this gear. And I'm talking hard caked, nasty stuff. All right, we're back, and you may have already seen the main gear going into the side plate. All right, and it's set up now for a right hand retrieve. We now have the spool on and locked in place on the drag spring inside. This drag, I'm not sure that there's much we can do with that. I'm thinking that I might try making a knob to go on top. This bottom plate in first, and then put the screw in for the drag. And like I said, that's broken, so not sure there's a whole lot we're going to be able to do for that. The knob is missing, so we're going to put the spring on. Now what we are going to be able to do is tighten this screw down, and maybe, just maybe, we can get it tight enough that you can turn the metal cap on top to loosen and tighten the drag. Let's try that. Yeah. Okay, that'll work. So we now have an operational drag system again. Now we have to put in our main axle assembly and reel oil. I take reel oil and I put it on the axle shaft so that it can slide easily inside. Well, I thought it would. Well, all right. Remember earlier I tapped on the inside of this, or on the end of this, to get it out? Well, I might have slightly mushroomed the end of it. Go in. There we go. Yeah, it had slightly mushroomed the edge, very slightly, and we've cleaned it. I cleaned that out, kind of deburred it. Sorry about that. That was me getting a little overly aggressive with trying to get things apart. All right, now this gear fits on here like this, and it should slide easily, and it's not. So let's see what we can do about easing that up. Now if we put a little pressure on it left and right and move it in and out a bit, let it kind of act as though it's a miniature sander, and then let's take a trim down cotton swab and clean the inside out. See all that dirt in there? Let's get all that out of there. Now, let's clean this up a little bit. Add grease to him. And see if that gear doesn't slide a little better on there. There we go. That's what we're after. All right. But it can't do it from out here. It has to go inside first. Again, I've wiped a lot of oil off of here, so let's put some more oil on the axle shaft. Put it in, rotate a little bit, let it maneuver, and put fluid on there. All right, now, you're not going to be able to see this very well. Let's see if I can turn it that way. All right, now I'm going to move it over a little more and zoom in a bit so you can see, hopefully, what's going on, at least to a degree. All right, what we're going to do, I'm going to set something underneath this axle shaft to hold it in place. And then I'm going to take this gear and we're going to put it on, back on the axle shaft like that. I'm going to add some more grease to it. And hopefully now my gear is not going to fall out. We're going to slide this spring on at this point. And this is where things get a little bit hairy, is what we have to do is we have to compress the spring. Now what I do, and not everybody has these, and I try to use tools that everybody has, but everybody doesn't have these. So what I did, I pushed it down, I locked it into place with these hemostats. Okay? And then this little bitty spring clip here has got to go on. And it just slips over the end. And locks in place. I think I've got it just almost on, but not quite. So we're gonna, can you see? All right, we're gonna pull this down a little. There we go. Now it's snapped in place. And at this point, I'll release the spring gently, like that. And now my axle shaft is in there where the button will push it in, and it functions properly. I don't think we're going to have to worry about this reel being too slow. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of grease, and I mean a little bit. This is not, that's way too much. A little bit of grease to the axle shaft. There we go. We're going to add a little bit more over here, and we're going to go ahead and grease up the gear. All right, that should turn freely now inside there. And it does. At this point, I think we're ready to put on the side plate. Now, in order to put the side plate on, you got to have the button in. So first thing, hook the button. Let's zoom back out. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is put on the side plate, but we're going to have to put the button in first. So go ahead and slip the button in. Like that. Okay? Once you've got it in, now you can install your side plate, the one with the main gear in it. Slip it up, and that sleeve has got to fit down through the middle of your push button. Okay, just before you get it all the way in, add a little grease, so that it will pivot easily on that sleeve shaft. There we go. Wow, that is so much better than it was before. When we first started, you'd push in and it stayed right there. All right, looking good. Other side plate, This is the JC Higgins side plate. Put it on. Now we move to the spinner head. That still feels gritty under there. But let's put some grease on it and see how it flies. There may be a burr. Let's see if that helps. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now it's moving much better. Okay, spinner head, well lubricated. Slip it on. Remember, there's a flat spot on it that you've got to match up. Slide it in, push the button down. Now when you do that, it's going to make the stud come up higher. Once you've done that, you can put this spinner head nut back on. There we go. It's really made for a quarter, I think. All right, now slip the handle back on, the handle nut back on. Tighten it down with the nut driver. Okay, it's not working. Pin's not coming out when we wind. So we can figure out why. Okay, when it comes up, it's locking into place. There is a pin right there that I believe is supposed to cause this to trip and drop back down, and it's not doing its job. There's nothing there to make it drop down. So we've got a really nicely functioning reel here with no way to make that lever drop out. Normally there's a offset on top. Right here. That pushes that out and over. I'm thinking that's what that pin is supposed to be right there, and that pin is worn off. So this may be the demise of this reel. It doesn't have the pin to kick that over. See, there's supposed to be a pin, and that pin's supposed to kick that over and drop it down, and that pin's not there. And I don't believe there's anything I can do for that, short of drilling it out and putting a new pin. Well, there we have an almost serviceable JC Higgins reel. And I'm going to have to see what I can do about that pin. It's worn out. It's gone. And that appears to be what kicks out that lever. And there's no lever there. There's no pin there now. Well, that breaks my heart. I mean, granted, it's not a high dollar reel or anything, but we came so close to getting it up and going. And that little pin right there, you know what? I think I can modify this to operate again. I would sure have to file a lot of that away. Alright, how is it the song goes? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Well, in this case, sometimes we lost. And unless I can come up with a way to drill that out and put a pin or a screw into the top of that to kick that bail out, and I don't know that it's worth all that effort. I mean, it's a $5 reel at best. So I just wanted to try to get it up and running. But it's a long way from where it was, and it's still missing the knob up here. So I don't really know that it's worth that kind of effort. I think it will probably move into the parts reel bin. But anyway, if you've got one of these though, and you need to know how to take it apart and put it back together, and you've got the pin still on the top of yours, hey, there you go. Maybe you can get yours up and running. Okay, I'm back. And this may seem like sacrilege to some of you, but I've decided that I'm going to try to perform a modification to this reel and see if I can make it work. Okay, the problem with this reel is that there's nothing to push this bar over to get it to drop down beside here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this post right here ever so slightly and see if I can't create a ramp so that it will move down across here. I'm going to use a Dremel tool. Alright, what we're going to do, we're going to take the Dremel tool and we're going to try to grind a slight ramp into this post and use that as a drop down for this arm. So I don't know that it's going to work, but right now the reel is not functional anyway. So we're going to give it a try, see if we can make it work. If that's going to work or not, but I don't really see why it wouldn't. So we're going to give it a try. Okay. Push in the button. Get it lined up. Tighten it down. What do you think? We've just taken this dead reel and turned it into a perfectly functional operating reel again. So, there, oh. I just had to take some time and think about it was all. There we go. There is the JC Higgins reel. It's modified, but it does operate. And it works like it's supposed to. Wish I had some line on there. Matter of fact, I'm going to stop. I'm going to put some line on it real quick so we can test the drag and see if it works. Well, to say I'm pleased would be an understatement, because I did manage to get this reel up and running. The drag works. Oh. There we go. You can adjust it with a screwdriver, which is not optimal. Actually, you can use it by this top washer. I managed to get it tight enough. Yep, that tightened it down. A little tighter. Yep, very tight. Okay, so we've got an operational spool release. It winds beautifully. And there we have another successful reel repair by YoungMartin'sReels. That one I'm actually kind of proud of, because I thought this was a dead reel. When we couldn't get the spool to turn, I was pretty sure that was the end of it. When I finally got the spool to break back loose, I was very excited to see that happened. Then I saw that I had damaged slightly the inside of the main axle bushing, and I was able to scrape that back out and get that fixed. And then we found, well, that the drag button was inoperative. We got that fixed, and then we found that the clicker didn't work as far as the spool release trip. There wasn't anything there, and we had to make that. So putting all that together, everything functioned well. Okay, so let's take a look at the checklist that we started out with and see how things compare. All right. Could we find a schematic? No, we never found a schematic. Is the reel complete? It's complete all except for the knob for the drag. Is there anything visible on the reel broken? Just the knob for the drag. Does the reel turn smoothly? Yes, the reel now turns smoothly. Does the spool release operate? Yes, it does. Does the bail? There's no bail. Does the drag work? Yes, the drag works. Can it be adjusted? Yes, it can. Does the bait? There's no bait clicker. Does the handle knob function smoothly? Yes, it does. Does anti-reverse work? Well, let's see. Yes, it does. Can we reverse that? Let's see. Got an anti-reverse switch. It's going that. Okay. Both left and right anti-reverse work properly, depending on which one you select as to what you get. So we've got that functional. We had an anti-reverse we couldn't turn off. We filed that down and got that operating. So everything that we originally anticipated and then some on the checklist have been taken care of. This reel is ready to go back fishing. So this is Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, and I'm signing out.